Hi everybody, I'm Stefan for Aetutsplus.com, and this is the first tutorial of a series of tutorials where I'm going to show you how to create an almost complete broadcast graphics package. So here is what we are going to create. As you can see, there are different elements that we are going to create, some lower third animations and stuff like that. As you can see, this is the most common graphics used in news, for example, and we are going to create this completely inside After Effects without using a third-party plugins. So as you can see, we have a lot to cover, and today I'm going to start with the background element and the rotating box element, because as you can see we are going to use them almost in every design. So this is our main elements for this project. So let's close this and let's create a new composition. I prepared already the earth map to save some time, and let's create a new composition and let's call it background and hit OK. Let's create a new solid and let's call this one background color, and let's duplicate the layer, Ctrl Shift Y, and let's rename it to fractal noise and click new. So let's turn off the fractal noise for a second and let's select the background color, come to effect, generate, and apply a ramp effect. And basically we need to put the ramp right here and the other point maybe somewhere around here. I think it's okay. And for the colors, I have my colors off screen here, the original colors I used, because I can't select the same colors. So I'm going to just copy them. This is the first color and this is the second color, and I'm going to click OK. So this is our background color. Now let's select the fractal noise, turn it on, come to effect and noise and grain and choose fractal noise. And this is a very cool effect. We are going to use it a lot in this project. So for the fractal type we are going to stick with basic, and for the noise type we are going to use soft linear, which is by default. We are going to increase the contrast a bit and probably decrease the brightness a bit to get even more contrast. And let's open the transform options and just rotate this one a bit like so maybe, and uncheck the uniform scaling and set the first one to 3000 and the second one for the height to 700. And as you can see, this is how it looks. Let's set the complexity to 3 because we want less detail, and let's going to animate this come to the beginning of the timeline, set a keyframe, come to the end and set this to 6 complete evolutions. Come to evolution options and check the cycle evolution and change this to 6, and this way we have a perfect loop. As you can see, this is how our animation looks like. For the rest of the settings, blending mode and opacity, we're going to leave them like so. Let's close this one and let's see, change the blending mode to overlay and set the opacity of the fractal noise to 50%. And by the way, I'm pressing T to review the opacity of the fractal noise. And as you can see, this is how our background looks like. So let's move on with the next element, which is the earth map animation. So let's come to the earth map here, and first of all I'm going to apply a drop shadow effect to the earth map and increase the opacity of the shadow a lot. Use the default direction angle and set the distance to 0 and increase the softness to 30, for example, to get a nice and soft shadow. And this is it. Now let's go and pre-compose this one into earth map 2 and probably rename it earth map animation, and apply a motion tile effect, which is under effect stylize motion tile. And I'm going to explain really quickly what this effect does. Basically, it tiles the image. So for example, if I hit P and move the image here, and I can tile the image, as you can see, it starts to repeat over and over again. Or I can mirror the edges of the image, but this is not what I want in this case. So let's reset the position and set a keyframe for the tile center at the beginning and move right to the end of the timeline and increase it to this number. And as you can see, we have a nice movement and everything looks perfect with no gaps between the two maps right here, as you can see. So this is our animation. Now we are going to add some color to this one, so let's come to generate and apply a ramp. And a ramp is another effect that we are going to use a lot in this project. So let's set this one to -300 right here, and probably move it up a bit like so, and leave the other one like so. And for example, basically I'm going to copy the colors again to recreate this one as close as possible. And this is how it looks like. We have our animation of the earth map and we have our animated background. So let's move on and start to put these elements together. Let's create another composition and let's call it main and hit OK. And we are going to drop our background and our earth map animation compositions right here. And as you can see, this is the very basic part of our background. And for the earth map animation, I'm going to go to effect blur and sharpen and apply a quick fast blur effect and click the repeat edge pixels just to make it less sharp and decrease the amount of detail there. And also I'm going to apply some masks here, basically a one mask at this point, which you're going to see why I'm applying this mask here just in a second. Hit M to review the mask properties, set the mask mode to subtract and increase the feather quite a lot. And basically we are going to tweak this one later on, but for now I think we are good to go. Now let's create a new composition and change the size to 4000 by 4000, which is quite a lot, and let's name this one waves tick and click OK. Let's create another solid, let's call it waves tick again. Come to generate and choose radio waves, which is a very cool plugin, as you're going to see right now. So let's come to the expansion and increase this to 15 because we want our waves to move a bit faster. And let's change the wave span to 4 and let's change the color to white to see it better, and increase the start width and end to 100. And basically I want the radio waves to die until they reach the edges of the composition, so probably increase this to 4.4 and let's see if everything works fine for now. Yep, we are ready to go, I think. And basically that's the settings, and you can increase the render quality and number of polygons right here, but this is going to increase your render time, and I'm going to keep it like so because it will be just the background element. And let's come to the main project panel and duplicate the wave stick and rename them to waves 10. Oh, and I forgot, before we do that we need to whoop this animation, so let's try to whoop this one. And this is a very cool effect because it's really easy to whoop. As you can see, we have a perfect whoop already, a 30-second perfect whoop. So I'm really happy with this. Let's duplicate the composition and rename it. Open this one and modify the settings a bit, just to rename this to keep it organized. Oops. Yep. And we're going to change the frequency to 2, so we double the amount of waves, and set the expansion to 30 to make them move even faster, twice as fast as the tick one, and set the wave span to 2 and reduce the size, as you can see, and I think it's pretty much okay. So let's come to the main composition and drop these elements here, and I'm going to color code these elements and make this red for the background, and I'm probably going to scale these elements, but I'm going to do this later on. So let's select all these compositions and drop them into a new folder, and let's call it pre-comps to keep the project nice and organized. And I'm going to change the opacity and reduce it a lot, because this is going to be just a background element and we don't need much detail, and that's why I didn't increase the quality settings for the radio waves, as you can see. So let's move on. The next element that we are going to use in this project is this one, and you may know this element already because some time ago I created a quick tip on how to create this element, so you can check it and see how simple and powerful are the shape layers, and see the amazing things that you can do with them. So I'm going to use a pre-rendered version of the compass, but for you, you may need to check this quick tip here and create the compass using the shape layers and move on. So I'm going to drop the compass right here and make the waves in the compass 3D layers. And now the fun part starts. I'm going to hit P and Shift R to review the position and rotation for the thick waves. Let's turn these layers off and start to tweak. Start to tweak the settings. Like so. And set the rotation to -65 for the X and 15 for the Y, and as you can see we get our radio waves, and we're going to use the same position and rotation settings for our other layer here. As you can see, this is our design already, and we are going to paste these settings for the compass. Again, probably reduce the opacity to 20% or 25 maybe, to make it stand out just a bit more. And the compass is already animated, but I guess I'm going to add another animation right here to get this kind of rotation. And let's close these compositions here to make some room, and save the project, of course. Now it's time to create the Earth globe for the left side. So let's open the pre-comps and take the Earth map, which is stationary. It doesn't rotate, move, or do anything like that. And come to effect, stylize, or just type the effect because I can't find it right now. Perspective, of course, it's perspective, CC sphere, and we have a nice globe. As you can see, we need to increase the radius a bit, 600 maybe. It looks good to me. And let's start tweaking this one. Let's open the rotation, come to the beginning of the timeline, and let's see the Y rotation, set a keyframe for the Y rotation, go to the end of the timeline by hitting the end key and set this to 3 complete rotations. And set this one to 0 because we want only the half of the globe to be there. And white height, set it to 100. And let's see the shading settings. I guess we're going to leave them like so, and just change the render from full to outside because we want only the outside of our globe. Set basically earth map outside, set this to 35%, duplicate it and change this one to inside. And let's start tweaking. First of all, let's rename the composition to inside, change the opacity to 10%, and let's see, we are going to come to effect, blur and sharpen, camera lens blur, and for the older versions of After Effects this is a lens blur effect. And I'm going to increase the blur radius to 20%, and let's see how it looks. We want just a shadow detail there. As you can see, we see the background part of the globe there. Probably increase the opacity just a bit, and this is it. But we need to create something like a base for the earth because it's like it doesn't look like a globe at this point. But before I do that, I would like to take the compass, drop it here, hit P for the position, set this to 0, set the opacity to 40%, and take the ellipse mask tool and let's draw a shape and set the mask to none for now. And I want only the outside of the compass, so let's hit subtract, hit S for scale and scale it a bit. Also come to effect, perspective, and apply a drop shadow and increase the opacity to 100% and set the distance to 3 and the softness to 3 also. And let's see, let's add a vignette for this background and use a complete black color. Just double click on the ellipse mask to set the mode to subtract and set this to 400 for example, and probably set the opacity to, I don't know, 15% or so, or maybe increase it to 50. Like so. And now let's see, let's color code, make this pink for example, no pink, yellow to stand out, and this one yellow. And now let's create the earth fill. Let's apply a ramp effect for this purpose, and we are going to use a radial ramp and set the first point right here and the second point here. And for the start color I'm going to copy again my original color, and for the end color I'm going to use black. Now let's put this right here, and let's select the ellipse mask tool and draw a shape. And let's see, we need to tweak the shape a bit. Let's select the earth fill and decrease the size of the shape. Also make a guide right here and move the shape using the arrow keys. And it takes some time to render because this is a full HD project. And also move the mask like so. It's not so important to be a perfect mask, and probably set the feather to 15 or 5. Reduce the opacity to 50%, and let's remove these marks. And this is it's starting to look like a real globe right here. And I think we are pretty much done. Just decrease the scale of this compass to 75% or 78, excuse me, 79, something like that. And it's already animated, as you can see, but when you create this one and it's not animated and it's a stationary composition without any movement, you can just animate the rotation, probably 1 or 2 full rotations for 30 seconds. But for now I'm going to leave it like so, and let's rename this composition to background whoop, even if it's not whooped, because this is a pre-rendered element with movement already, so you can see it's not whooped, but everything else is whooped except the compass. And one final thing for the, let's see, for the earth animation, I'm going to copy the mask from the earth fill and paste it right here. Hit M to review the mask options and subtract, because I don't want to see the earth map behind the globe. And let's set the feather to 25 and probably hit to review the mask properties. Oops, probably play with the expansion to avoid this gap here. -3 or -5 or 10, something like that. I think that's it for the background. So let's hit Ctrl A to select everything, collapse the layers, and put this in the pre-comps, because it should be a pre-comp originally. And let's move on and start creating the rotating box. Let's create the composition and set the size to 500 by 500, and let's go with rotating cube. 30 seconds is okay, and click OK. And now for the body, I'm going to set the size to like so, and just copy the cover again. Oops, this is the body cover, and hit OK. Now duplicate this and let's call it fractal noise box and set it white, and apply fractal noise to this one, which is a very useful effect. And we're going to use similar settings to the fractal noise settings we used for the background. And for the transform, we're going to choose settings like so, set the complexity to 3, and for the evolution, set it to make a 1 full evolution, and let's whoop it like so. And come to effect, bore and sharpen, and apply fast bore and increase the boriness quite a lot, because we want like an ambient, just parts of the image become brighter and darker. And set this to overlay and reduce the opacity to 50% again. As you can see, this is what we get. And now let's create a outline border. Let's go with border, set it 500 to 500, and I'll probably duplicate this one, delete the effects, change the blending mode, increase the opacity, and use it as a alpha inverted matte, and let's rename it to border matte. And this is it. This is the one of the parts of the cube. So let's pre-comp this one, and let's go with side 1 and hit OK. Come to the project panel and duplicate the composition here, not here, because if we duplicate this composition here and make a change inside one of the composition, this will affect all of the compositions. Basically, all of the copies will be instances of the main composition, and when I duplicate the composition right here, it's like a different composition. So I'm going to make 6 copies to create the cube. Drop them right here, Ctrl A, make them 3D layers, and hit A for the anchor point, and because this is a 500 by 500 in size, we are going to set this to 250, basically the half of the 500, and you're going to see why in a minute. Let's come to custom view and let's take side 2, hit W for the rotation and just hold down shift and rotate. And as you can see, this is a very easy way. This is a very easy way to create a 3D cube. Now select all the layers, Ctrl A, and change the blending mode to alpha add. And now we can create a new object, and let's call this one box null, and this null is going to be in the center, right in the center of the cube. So let's go to the active camera and let's create one in camera, 35mm, hit OK, and let's create a new null object and let's rename it to camera null. Make it a 3D layer, link the camera to the new object, hit P for the position and just move the camera a bit like so, and let's see, we can move this one like so and animate the rotation, as you can see. And the idea is that the cube never goes outside of the composition, never gets cut out. So let's create a new white, Ctrl Shift L is the shortcut, and let's create an ambient white with a 25% intensity. Let's rename this one ambient, and let's create another white, Ctrl Shift Y to reach the white settings, and let's call this one spot, or basically point. Change the type to point, change the intensity to 100%, keep the fall off to none, and don't cast shadows. Hit OK and hit P for the position, and let's set this one a bit right here and probably negative 310 like so. And basically we want to simulate kind of a shading effect. So you need to put your logo inside. For example, give me a second to get the Aetutsplus logo and Video Hive logos and put them right into the cube. Well, here are the logos of Aetutsplus and Envato, because I found them in a single folder and wanted to save some time. So for the side one, I'm going to put the Aetutsplus logo right here, and for the side 2, I'm going to put the Envato logo right here, and for the side 3, I'm going to put the Aetutsplus logo right here, and for the side 4, I'm going to put the Envato logo right here. And basically come to the rotating cube and animate the rotations, and you're going to see that the logos appear there. So I'm going to start from the 2-second mark, set a keyframe, move 20 frames forward and rotate it 90 degrees. And move 2 seconds forward, set a keyframe, move 20 frames forward and make it like so. And as you can see, this is our animation, and basically this repeats over and over again until the end. So we need to move 2 seconds forward, set a keyframe, move 20 frames forward, and just another rotation, and move 2 seconds forward, set a keyframe, move 20 frames, and just add another rotation. And basically this will repeat a couple of times until we get the end of the timeline. Like so. Set a keyframe, and this is a bit boring part, but you get the point. So let's create another folder, and let's call it rotating cube element. Let's put the rotating cube composition here, and let's basically the rotating cube element main composition, we want it outside, and these are our assets right here, and these are our main comps. And basically you can name your folders with numbers, so they're in the order you want them. So that's it for this tutorial. It came a bit longer than I expected. I wanted to cover at least this animation here, where the title bar shows up and our info plate here pops up, but I'm going to cover this one and some of the other designs, probably the two lower thirds or the other elements, in the next tutorial. And I guess there will be 2 more tutorials to cover the rest of the elements. So with that, I think I'm ready. And for the rest of the tutorials, I'm going to pre-render the rotating box in the background to save some time for rendering and increase the workflow. And that's it for this tutorial. Hope you like it. Once again, I'm Stefan for Aetutsplus.com, and we'll see you next time.